Welcome back, everyone, to Moving Offline. Today we have Eric Bouchard, and he's going to be talking to us about a basic phone, a dream that he has of building a new device that allows you to have utilities without distractions. I know there's a lot of options out there, so it is quite peculiar that we have a new competitor, and it is a little bit different. I'm going to link some of the resources in the Kickstarter in the description of this podcast so you can go check it out. But we have Eric here, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about how did he envision this project and why is it important for us today. Eric, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit more about who you are, why this project is important, and where did the impetus come from to start it?
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Eric, and I built this company part-time for a lot of my life now, like just spending a little bit of time making some games. So I'm originally from mobile game development, but essentially at one point I sat down and I really wanted to make something that was impactful and positive. And I thought I took one of my old ideas, which was making a phone that could help people focus better. And just a little bit more about my past too is I used to work for Warner Brothers for a while. So I was a software developer there, and then at some point I parted ways with them. So most of my life has been software development. And at some point I wanted to change it up a little bit. So now I'm doing more hardware, but still doing software at the same time.
And in this hardware software world, help us understand. A lot of people ask me, why is it that we don't have the perfect phone? A phone that only has what I needed to have and none of the distractions, none of the browsers, none of the things, social media. So why is it so hard for us to come by a device that has open standards on hardware, open standards on software, that pleases every privacy and digital minimalist and practical person all at the same time? Why is this so hard to come by?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's tough to come up with a great balance. And that's kind of one of the reasons I tackled this problem, because I think we have something that is very close to balance. I mean, it's leaning a bit more towards the dumb phone, but it has most of the features that you would need that aren't distracting. And yeah, it is hard to find a good phone right now that does everything that you want, but not too much. That was essentially one of the problems I had. And there's some of them that are very close, but again, they run like Android, and they have no like focus on privacy, and everything's closed. And we decided to make our phone completely open source. So the software will be open source. It's also running on Linux, so no Android there. So there's no issues about, battery draining fast or just privacy concerns. And we're going to try to make these hardware open as well. That's a little bit harder, but we're trying really hard to make that open as well. So.
I know a lot of people sometimes are looking into the reality that bringing an open source and having an open hardware may be difficult because of carrier certifications. It may be difficult because you have to work with an industry that is usually very tight and controlled. So I know that you'll have to compromise on certain things at some point in time, but I want to understand what in your personal story brought you here to the point that you think this is a market that you want to help and that the basic phone can provide a solution to.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just in my personal life, like I was kind of seeing people around me all glued to their phones, and it even me too. Once in a while, I'll be too much on my phone, and it's like I'm a huge tech guy. I love technology, but there's a big problem right now, and I think a lot of us are wasting a lot of time on our phones, and it's not necessarily a bad thing once in a while, but the amount of hours we spend just doom scrolling it's really bad for us, like just mental health wise. And there's even like subconscious comparison that, you're not intentionally comparing yourself with others, but there's a lot of fake stuff on there where people post only good things, and then people might think they're behind in life, which, it's tough to fix that. And just going out with friends or just being at the office with people, like everyone is on their phones, like kind of just scrolling in here. Like, hey, I'm here. Like, let's have a conversation. Let's talk. So it's becoming a big issue, and I really wanted to tackle it. And the options that are out there right now, people are hesitant because they're like, oh, well, I want to be able to use WhatsApp. I want to be able to use ride sharing. So we're gonna try to offer that as well in the phone, but no like social media, nothing that can be distracting. So not even YouTube.
I know I have read in some of your materials and conversations that you have had with the community that you're going to be offering some of these things, but the resources available to the phone may be a little bit limited. And something that people worry about is how are you going to do that? You have expressed some maybe workarounds with a server, a browser. Since browsers are very powerful, you can essentially emulate them on any kind of hardware. But that comes at a cost of, well, I'm sending my data to a server and I'm trusting you to not use that data for any undue purposes. You are very new into this industry, and the question is why should people trust you? How can people verify that you are not going to do something improper with their information?
Yeah, and that's totally valid. And that's something that silly enough, I overlooked when I first came up with the concept. But essentially, what we're going to try to do, or what we're going to do, is make it open source as well. So you could host your own solution if you want. So let's say you want everything to be completely private for you. So you could have this little computer at home, maybe like a Raspberry Pi or something, and it could host just the cloud part of things that you need on the phone. So everything that can be local will be local on the phone. But things like ride sharing, obviously, like you can't run that on low end hardware or some other apps like WhatsApp. You need to have a valid app to use that. So that stuff will need to run on the cloud. And another thing we'll do as well is we can make a beeper app, and this will be able to, or like using the Matrix API there, and you'll be able to just use at least the messaging apps that you can talk through. And then the third thing we can do is we'll offer the option by default to use our servers, but what we can do is have a third party like audit our servers and have like a signed cryptographic key that will confirm that we're running this specific open source part of the software, and we'll still make the software open source. So these are all things that people don't need to use as well. So it's all like optional, but I offer enough options that if people are paranoid, like I am sometimes with software, they can just run their own if they want to. And that's the option.
A lot of these terminology may be going over the head of some of our listeners, and kind of saying, okay, this sounds quirky and nerdy to a large degree, like open source and Raspberry Pi. And I'm like, I just want something that works. I just want something that kind of goes with my phone. And I know that a lot of people have had difficulties switching to a flip phone or to a light phone as a result of the lack of certain applications. But then they go back into a smartphone or something along the likes. Maybe they block it with an NFC blocker like Brick or Focus or all of these different apps that allow you to restrain some of the capabilities of the phone. But then they end up not using it and they go back to the whole of using the phone again and again. So why should people trust that this will actually deliver or will be a frictionless experience to a large degree, that they don't go back to their smartphones, since unfortunately smartphones have a hold into our era at the moment and they're used for pretty much everything.
For sure, I totally agree with that. Like, just having a smartphone, there's a lot of ways to make it dumb, but I think the problem needs to be addressed at the root level, which is like the hardware side. And by having a low end hardware, it's forcing you to not be distracted and just have the essential apps. And I still wanted to tackle the problem though of not having certain communication apps like WhatsApp and Discord on your phone, because I think communicating is important and it's not necessarily distracting. It's just people have had complaints in the past about the phones that you didn't have the ability to talk to this friend or that friend that are using different apps. But yeah, how we're gonna do this is, like I said, just trying to have multiple options that people can use.
One of the main challenges that I see with a lot of people is that when you start giving a lot of options, then you may start giving too many options, and it gets a little bit maybe overwhelming to say, okay, I'm going to be able to do all of these things, but I have restrictions in this other area. So I end up bringing my computer and my tablet because I don't have everything that I need. And that's just the reality of the smartphone, right? Like it's essentially a replacement for your computer, so you don't have to bring other items. So how is your basic phone different than that? Different than maybe a restricted smartphone? How is it different than something that can suck in my time because now I have all of the options available again?
Yeah, and like I said, the hardware will be pretty low end, so it's going to be hard for you to use the extra options that we offer. Like the extra options are more like just for communicating and maybe using like ride sharing and stuff like that. But you won't be able to, at our server level, you won't be able to use social media. And I believe that that will adopt this won't even attempt it. Like if they attempt to use social media on this hardware, it's going to be, even through the cloud solution, it's going to be like really hard to use. It's going to be like not fun to use at all because we're using an e-paper display, right? So it's in black and white and it's not super fast refresh rate. And I know some other dumb phones have tried that before, but us, I believe we have the right dumb phone. Like it's like a perfect, not a perfect dumb phone, but like close to a real dumb phone because it's running Linux, it's open source, low end hardware. You don't want something like Android because then it gives you way too much freedom. Like you're able to install any APKs on there. And, if we had like a super high end phone, that would also make things easy to install through Linux. But by having an e-paper display, it also helps a lot, right? So people have mentioned like, hey, just have an e-paper display. That's enough to have people not want to use it as a full blown like computer. And I think that's correct. And just one last thing, I think in the past we had a better balance with technology. So we used to have like a dedicated desktop, in our homes, and we would go to it to communicate with people like MSN or just go online and stuff. But when you would walk away from the computer, you would go back to reality and you would present in the moment. So we're trying to recreate that because I think that was like peak society.
I want you to speak a little bit more about that because I think that you are hitting into something that allows us to create that distance, right? So you're saying it's going to have an e-paper display. There's a little bit of friction, there's a little bit of distance that you're not going to be able to use all of the conveniences in the same way. You may still have access to some of them, but they're not going to be as frictionless or as convenient, as easy to use. But also, there is something to be said about the lifestyle component of this, right? You are fixing one side of the individual's needs, but you cannot fix the lifestyle. So, what would you say to people to maybe put themselves as they're thinking about maybe purchasing your device? This is an idea, this is something that you're trying to get buy in. And at the same time, it's not going to be the silver bullet that cures some of their internal issues or things, dependencies that they may need to work on further than just switching a device.
Yeah, 100%. It's a big problem inside you, that you might have been addicted. There's an addiction problem there that we are disregarding as a society, and just being on our smartphone seems as a normal thing now, and it's not. Like, remember in the past we used to watch TV a little bit too long and your parents would be like, hey, stop watching TV. And it's the same with phones. It's becoming a big issue. But if you do buy our phone, then I believe you're making the right step into wanting to change into wanting to change your life into a positive lifestyle. And it's essentially a lifestyle change if you buy our phone or any dumb phone in the matter. I encourage that 100% because by doing this it seems like a small step, but it's a big step. And by doing that step, you're essentially like wiring your brain a little bit to say, okay, now I'll have a ton of time to do other things. And it'll be really hard at first because you're going to be bored and you're going to see like, wow, what do I do with my time? Like a few minutes before bed, or just when you're at the waiting office, waiting for an appointment for your doctor or something, you're going to be really bored. But this is good. It's good to be bored because it forces you to think. It forces you to plan in the future, or just think about, hey, maybe I'm not doing the right thing in my life right now, or or just think about ideas. Maybe you'll think about a business idea, or just hey, I haven't talked to this friend in a while. Maybe I should talk to him. So it forces you to come back to reality instead of just consuming all this stuff that is. I mean, I'm not saying social media is completely bad, because it is very good in some ways if you're intentional about it. So if you search something on it, like, you want to know how to make a recipe, or you want to know how to build something, it's perfect for that. But as soon as you go on the feeds and you start scrolling, that's not good. Like, you're just going to be fed random stuff, and it's just not good.
I definitely agree with you that mindless consumption is one of the biggest issues here. And it just kind of gets into our system very easily because the algorithm knows our preferences. We have fed it information to know our preferences. And that's what we need to disrupt. We need to disrupt that cycle in order to create a more positive engagement with some of these technologies. So definitely understand where you're coming from. Now, this is an early project. We are at the beginning. We're having an interview with you. You need to mature more thoughts and then mature more ideas and get some more feedback. And that's kind of like the next step. Where can people find more information about you, about what you're building, how you're doing it? Try to do it in public as much as possible. I saw a prototype video. I'm going to put it in the description as well so people can check it out. But yeah, where can people understand this, maybe help shape the project, and also give some feedback, so that that you're building something that people are actually going to find useful.
Yeah, for sure. So we have a Discord channel actually, and I'm inviting anyone that wants to talk about this, just come into our Discord server, and maybe you can post it in the description there. But yeah, you can just come on there, and I just let anyone speak freely and just give your advice or your opinions, and then we'll take everything in seriously. Like, we'll take everything in consideration seriously. And if you want to learn a little bit more about it, you can also visit our website at bouchardindustries.com. And then on there, we try to post our latest projects. And right now we have a Kickstarter and pre-launch. So if you go on there and you sign up, you'll get notified once we launch. And I'm active on Reddit a lot as well. So.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing your homework, trying to understand all of the things from different perspectives, right? And everybody wants a different feature because their lives are just a little bit different. And I think that you have something to be excited about, and also something that you're building in public, which I truly appreciate as much as possible, right? Like, you're trying to do the deals with the manufacturers, and some of that, the public doesn't need to know. But some of the software decisions and some of the hardware decisions are being guided. So I'm really excited about that possibility and seeing more people getting into this space that want to get that feedback from the community. Eric, thank you very much. It's been a good conversation. I hope that people find it informative. This is one of those projects. It's pretty early on. We'll have you more later on once you have the actual Kickstarter, once you start seeing some of the hiccups that, other manufacturers have had in the past. This is not the first time that a new project kind of gets spin up, but I'm excited, and I'm happy to put you into the community, and hopefully you'll get some extra feedback so that people can help us shape it. Leave us with a final word about your project, about the ideas, and maybe something inspirational that people can take home today to maybe ponder over the weekend and have a better, more digital engagement with their lives?
Sure. So last summer, I watched a show called *Halt and Catch Fire*, and it really inspired me to achieve, like, go after my goals. And I think you should watch the show too. It's really good. But yeah, I just want to encourage everyone to follow your dreams. Life is short, so if you want to build something, do it. And if you get a dumb phone, I think your future self will be happy with you. If it's not mine, just get one, and just try to be positive. I know it's tough right now with everything, but positivity is important, and just rewire your brain to be positive.
That was Eric Bouchard from Bouchard Industries, and he's building a Linux device, something that is going to be helpful for you, something that is with an e-paper display, has some friction, and it's still early. So I recommend that you go check out the Discord, check out the links in the description so that you get a little bit of a feel for the project and see if this is something that can help you in your journey and maybe others that you know to create that distance and create that life that you're looking for. Thank you for listening to Moving Offline. We'll see you in the next podcast. And I have a little bit more time now to start producing this a little bit more on a maybe not weekly, but bi-weekly, maybe every other week cadence. So you'll see a lot of more interviews and more content coming on your feed. Stay tuned, share with a friend. And as always, try to have good digital wellness and do some cool stuff out there in the real world. Thank you for listening. See you next time.